Hey gang, Scott here. Welcome to InPost and thanks for joining me today. This photo today is about adding a blur effect to get a little more depth of field, and the combination that worked really well for me is the blur filter plus the line mask tool in ON1 Effects. So in the video earlier this week, I did this hike up to Pfeiffer Falls and I shared this photo. This is just with my iPhone. I like the trail and the signage and everything, but I wish I had the forethought to add a little more depth of field, a little more, just backdrop, softness in the background. Well, I can add that in using some of our digital tools, and I want to show you how the line mask in particular helps with this for things where you're really trying to get a particular subject like this signpost here cut out. So let's dive into this photo and I'll show you the fundamentals. So let me get my control panel open over here, and I'm running effects as a plugin, but these same tools exist in Photo Raw if you're using Photo Raw directly. So let me start with this lens blur, because this creates that blur look that we get from lenses, when you've done a shallow depth of field. Now, of course, this is applying everywhere in the photo, and right now I just want to fine-tune my look of blur. And I'm kind of looking out here at the back part of the trail to decide how much of my lens blur is good. What are the things I want to try out with. I don't want the sides or a tilt shift. That doesn't make sense. Round, not really making a lot of sense because of the mask. Although, let me reset the mask because I liked kind of how that bit of bokeh looked in the background. So I'll use the round option there, but I've reset the mask so it's applying everywhere. And now let's rein in the settings here. That's a little strong, so just a tiny bit. I just want a little bit of softness and blur out there. And what else do we have? The blooming, that's going to affect the highlights quite a bit. I don't want the highlights to get too high. We'll pull that down. What else here? Brightness. Might take that back a little bit. Contrast I want to increase. So something like this. Maybe that brightness is a little bit high. So something in this area feels pretty good. If I just do a quick before and after on this blur, and this is still affecting the whole photo, before and after. It's just taking some of the edge off out here, and if I get the signpost crisp, that's going to draw the eye right to that signpost. Very clear what my subject is, and I can emphasize that with the post-processing. This is where the line mask comes in. So we have our masking area. Let me open that up. And one of the tools we have is a line mask. Now this will be a full strength opacity, no feather, right? I want to cut out this signpost here as cleanly as possible. And let me just, for illustrative purposes, we'll do this first block here, this Pfeiffer Falls sign. Now you can do this all the way around the entire piece. I tend to work in bits and segments because, as you'll see in a moment, let me click a point here, and there's a reason I'm clicking multiple points and not just going straight across, because that will give me more latitude later on when I have to adjust things, because there will be some adjustment. Remember, I'm working at 100%. I'm zoomed in at 100%. But the blur that's already there is, going to create some problems for me in getting exact lines. Now, as I finish the line mask, notice there's a little tiny circle that shows up in the icon. That means, great, you've reached the end. And now I get this paintbrush. I can either remove the blur from out here or remove it from in here. I'll click once, and that blur has been removed from inside of this box. Okay, so far so good. Now, let's hit the Z key, and it wasn't even at 100%. So at 100%, things look pretty good, but like down in here, there's a little bit of mess, and my edges are a little bit off. When I zoom in even farther, we'll see that even more clearly. See that kind of little pixelation right above where my cursor is? Well, we go back into the line mask, we can edit those lines and we can fine-tune them and adjust them. And the tools give us even some additional control points. I'm hitting Shift-P on my keyboard, which brings up my line mask. And then when I go back in here, if I hover right on the edge of my line, click once, see all those points that showed up again? Now, whenever I have my square points, those are the ones I drew and clicked on as I was creating the mask. I can adjust those points, drag them down, up, and so forth. And as I hover in between points I've drawn, I get a new control point where it adds another one in. So that's why I clicked multiple times as I went around this sign, so I had these opportunities for additional control points as I needed them. The bottom looked pretty good. Let's take a look out here at the edge, and in particular, that spot right there. Now, this is like a very detailed work because, let's say I'm done there, I look at it again, and I kind of see some fuzziness here. Remember, I'm zoomed in at 200+%, so a little bit of pixelation we expect. But I want to make sure that I just don't have any of those obvious pixels that were out there. Shift-P again, and for illustrative purposes, I'll drag this a little bit too high and say done. When we see things like this, where there's a clear miss on your mask, that's when you want to get back in that line mask. Shift-P, hover on the blue line, click once, and now I have my control points again. And I can fix things up as necessary. And maybe this will go up a little bit, but not much. As I said, you go back and forth on this a little bit. That was not quite good, but you're getting the idea here. You go back and forth, you adjust things, and then you can do this on multiple segments. You can do very large segments of the sign, any number of points. It doesn't have to be a box. If I go back into my line mask tool, I have this one here. I can create another one. I can start here and kind of go up through this area of the sign. I'll do a couple of clicks there. I'll work rapidly here so you just get the idea. But this can be any shaped kind of polygon that you like. It does not have to be just a box. You're just really connecting small lines. And even as you get into curved areas, let's say that one, I added that in. But like curved areas, I can just do multiple clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm kind of curving my way around there. Later on, when I come back into the tool, if I have to make adjustments to the types of points I've added, I can make that curve pretty darn tight and smooth just by adjusting all those additional points that I have, right? I hover up in there and I get those additional points where I can shape that curve and make that just as smooth as necessary. So you work all the way through the various areas that you need to do your masking on. Line mask works great for these nice crisp edges. If you're curious, why aren't you using the perfect brush with the edge detection? Surprisingly on this photo, because there's some similarity in tones, the wood grain of the sign, some of the wood in the background, it was proving to be non-trivial. It wasn't just an easy brush, and even with a very low color threshold with the perfect brush, it just wasn't as precise as the line mask. Now, there's one other thing I want to show you about this blur tool where you do need to think about how things will look naturally in the scene. So once you've got all of your line masking done for your subject, a little fine-tuning to do. So let me show you that. So I've done all that detailed work on the line mask, and if I zoom in at 100%, things look really good, right? The sign is crisp, the backdrop is blurred, and for the photo overall, it's a much cleaner jump of this sign. This is clearly my subject, and my eye is drawn right there. The thing that looks a little bit unnatural is, well, this part of the scene, which was also roughly on the same focal plane as this sign, this is all soft. And so this is where you, the photographer, need to think about a couple of these things, because at least in my camera, it's not capturing depth information, so there's no depth map built into my raw photo, so I can't use tools that interpolate that and figure out the the magic of the blur. I want to add in something else here. Well, I open our masking areas, and we have many different shapes of gradients. I'll choose a center shape, which will mask things away from the center of the oval I draw, but I don't want to do it fully. Maybe 40-ish%, somewhere around there. I'll drop one of these on the scene and then shape it so that stretched out there a little bit. Maybe we'll angle it this way and like that. Let's get the feather stretched out. And you'll notice that inside here, there is less blur now. If I take that opacity just for a moment all the way up, right? So I'm masking everything away. You can see how crisp things get inside there, like that railing right in the front. I'll back that off to, where was I, around 40 or so. I'm taking some of the edge off of that blur effect. There's some detail there, some blur there, kind of a mix. Take a look at the mask swatch there. That's giving you an idea of what things look like. That might be a little bit angled incorrectly there. Maybe something more like this here. If I press the O key, you can see what that mask really looks like there. So nothing blurred at all on my signs. And then a nice little fade for kind of the front part of the photo to give a very natural feel. And then all said and done, before that change and after, that just draws attention here. So that's kind of really the whole bit of this video here is the line mask plus the lens blur filter in effects. If you're looking to create a little more depth by softening your background, take a look at these tools. They work very well. A little attention to detail, and you'll improve the photo, make it stronger. That's really the whole point of why we do post-processing. It's not just because we like playing with sliders, we want a stronger photo. I hope you found the video enjoyable. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them below. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.